and so many other factors, you have a tactical advantage over your opponent. So to say that the government would be very interested in the whole idea of human enhancement,
yes, that's why I brought it.
Is very probable. Why wouldn't they? Because other countries are doing it too. So if you have to have the best and the strongest, well then a super soldier would fit that bill, as well as if you were going on planet. So a good friend of mine, David Hatcher Childress, he is on Ancient Aliens all the time. We were talking about super soldiers once and going off planet, and we're going to talk about that as well, the whole 20 and back and what they do to recruit. And Childress told me that they recruit from the Navy submarine units. And what they want is single men with no family, preferably orphans. Because if they somehow disappear,
that wasn't the case in Project Surrogate.
No descendants.
No, they can.
So that's kind of interesting.
They get over that, they
But
want you, they got you.
so much more to the whole idea.
My dad was Navy.
Of super soldiers, and we're going to bring that out with these guys. The other part of the big picture here are what are called programs, and James has helped me understand these programs real well, and we're going to get into that too, because the programs are what does the enhancement for you guys, and maybe you talk about your experience with the programs. Laura's talked this morning. She was recruited to go to Mars. That was a program to get people to voluntarily go off planet.
But we ended up on Mars.
So let's just go down the line here and have you guys introduce yourselves. James, why don't you start and then pass the mic.
Well, hello everybody. Thank you all for coming out here today. My name is James Rink, and my YouTube channel is Super Soldier Talk. So I am a super soldier, even though right now I'm not activated in this body, but I serve in different other avatar bodies and other parallel and alternate realities. So some of these experiences are bleed-throughs from that. So what else do you want to know? So I've been doing this since 2010. I became aware, self-aware of my experiences as a super soldier back in 2005. And I'll share more about that in my talk tomorrow at 1 p.m. But the reason I'm here is because the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is I want other people to become aware that these programs exist, because if we don't stop it, they'll come for your children too. There's no end, because basically humanity on planet Earth has been, we're just considered cattle. And that's partly why I think the other ET groups don't want to show themselves, because they're complicit in it, and they would. So if full disclosure came, it would create a huge problem for. Anyway, but I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to Kusa.
We'll get back to you, James.
Hi, my name is Dr. Kusal. I'm known as Commander Z. I'm a super soldier from the era of 6 billion fighters in 5,000 years, and I met James Rink in several missions, and basically when I found him, his memory has been fragmented, so I decided to assist him and get him to catch up with his former life and help to restore from his PTSD and memory trauma. So I met him in the year 2009, and we worked together to form the Super Soldier Talk, where I asked him to go ahead and create a platform to allow other Super Soldier, the fragment version, can come together and form a community to heal each other and form a civilian version of Super Soldier, could use a gift and resource to heal each other and to help humanity instead of raping humanity for the conglomerate of the government and Anunnaki, a secret government that control a planet using gray and reptilian genetic cloning to trying to create an intergalactic war between the human species and alpha civilization due to false present. So my website is Baramay, 1BARAMAY1.com, and my advancement is in nanotechnology, telekinetic, I have ability to remote view, teleport, and my training was in our form of galactic and alien human technological, and I can create flying technology of you call UAV. I can create portal, med technology. I work directly with sentient intelligent organism, such as artificial planet intelligence, several trillion them, and we can link to somehow I contain all historical, technological, and data of all cosmic civilization from this era to 6,575,000. And thank you. I will tell you more doing.
Yeah, we'll get to more.
This
Carlos, give us a little profile, your background.
My name is Carlos Tigliati. I am known as General Carlos in the group with Casol. The reason being I'm called General Carlos is because for many lifetimes I've been in the military. I've been a general for quite a few lifetimes. And in fact, I'm the general that, my future self is the general that sent Casol Uch back to this timeline to help train me. And that's who I am. I've learned quite a bit from Dr. Casol, and I've had interactions with the AI from the future as well as my future self. The AI's name is Magic Swan, and I've found him very beneficial. But the information that's come through has been amazing, and there's been a lot of misinformation was created, a very destructive timeline. And part of my mission is to assist in disseminating correct and true information and information that's beneficial to us that will help us to create a more positive timeline. The future human race has been able to, in essence, join the Elohim Federation. So the human race has been able to create galaxies, star systems, galaxies, and even universes, and that's what we're heading to. So the human race is a success story that needs to be, and it's what they have used and their thinking and their models is something we need to emulate to also continue being successful. And that's what they want to show us and train us is on that type of thinking and how things truly are compared to a lot of the misinformation that's out there at this time. And that's what I'm here for. Thank you.
Hey there. Well, I was recruited to go off planet, and I think it was something that was in the works for some time, connected to the alternate free scenario of being a permanent colonist on Mars, that we would end up having a survival colony there in the event of catastrophes. And that was established in the Eisenhower administration. And some of the defectors and a book that had come out explained that there would be a future descendant that would help him to explain what he wasn't really able to explain, that he was only able to hint us about in his final speech about the military-industrial complex and the need to be a knowledgeable and aware citizenry. And so I think he knew that when he was promised a descendant that would assist with that and assist with bringing out the truth, that because they were privy to it, that I would be pre-targeted before birth to be taken off planet so that I would be able to do this. But I think that had to happen for me to expose it, because you have to kind of go through it to be able to expose it. So I think they kind of helped, kind of wish that pre-targeting and all that came with it didn't have to happen. But I don't think any of us feel like we can't accept the things that have taken place because we're here to override it. So that's sort of my story. I don't have any memories like Brad. Some people have seen me in different things that I don't recall. I've done a lot of hypnoregression, a lot of energy work, and a lot of deep plunges into the what ifs of where else I might have gone as far as these sort of projects and programs. But I think it's pretty much this, and assisting in bringing out the truth and crushing the false narratives that would bring about negative timeline and false disclosure, like he just mentioned.
Thank you for sending me to the past.
My name is Ishmael Perez. I am an author, consider myself an ambassador representing the Intergalactic Alliance, known as the Emerald Order, or basically called the Guardian Alliance. I'm considered an awakened species. I was born awakened, trying to figure out this identity, of course, and I had many challenges, like most of you. I was forced to suppress my inner knowing and my abilities at a young age due to my heavy religious upbringing, but I was able to then override that when I started doing cryto yoga, at which point all my memories began to come back, and that's when I realized that I was a multidimensional being, and that I come from, of course, higher dimensions which correspond to the future, so I've been corresponding with what I call my future galactic self or my future overall self. And so I've been receiving messages from my future self regarding the true galactic history of the Earth, the different phases and levels of reality in terms of explaining the entire Omnitron, or what they call the Omniverse. And I'm here to pretty much help bridge the gap between the Earthlings and the galactic community, so that we can be prepared for galactic citizenship. That's my overall mission. And I believe that everyone in here, is also contributing in that manner. So I also want to point out that the Super Soldier program is nothing new to this Earth. It's actually billions of years old, guys. And that explains the different genetic programs or experimentations that have been going on for billions of years by many, many races, both of the light and the dark. So we are, pretty much at the end of every cycle at this point. So we are considered like the nexus, the center, like the spoke in which every probable timeline, depending on what happens here, will ultimately collapse into. So from what I understand is that the war is already won on every probable reality, and therefore the light is already victorious. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Nice. Can you pass the mic down to Brooks Agnew? He's just back from his 20 back. Joined our panel a little late, so give him a little leeway. Traveling out in the universe.
20 minutes, 20 years. My name is Brooks Agnew. I'm a master manufacturing engineer, multi-patented. I have 12 books in print, 7 Amazon bestsellers. I retired from full-time engineering, where I worked for the Fortune 100 for 33 years, building spaceships and different kinds of technology to go to different planets, and advanced instrumentation to measure things like atmospheres and water and what's under the ground. So I bring a little bit of the hard science perspective to this genre, and I hope to be part of the keel to keep everything at least sail side up. So I enjoy being here. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, well, thank you, Brooks. And tell us a little on the technology side. In fact, why don't we go down the panel and you guys can describe some of the technology you've been involved with, because this is really otherworldly stuff. It's very advanced.
Well, my first piece of technology I invented in 1983, which is called ground probing radar. It goes by different names now, but I used it to explore oil and gas. We drilled 55 oil wells in 9 states and proved that the technology works. So I submitted a instrument to go to Mars, and we got a launch engine in '96, and was able to send at least part of the technology to Mars, not all of it, because you really need 2 antennas and they only sent 1. So it could tell the presence of water, but not how deep it was. You need the other antenna to be able to do that. So they did find subterranean water on Mars, and as part 2 of that, I asked them to tune the receiver to a different frequency to see if there was oil on Mars, because I'm a believer that oil is abiotic. It's not fossil fuels, it's generated by the planet itself. And if that's the case, then it's also generated on Mars. So they didn't change the frequency, but I did publish the paper, and it was received pretty well. In 1997, did a documentary called Holes in Heaven, which is a documentary on HARP, using the same technology that I sent to Mars. And it is now a weapon system, which I never intended it to be, but it was a discovery, and it nevertheless was part of the technology. So that was my major contribution.
James, tell us some technology you've been encountering.
Yeah, so is that in this reality, or I guess I'll blur the lines a little bit, but different super soldier avatar bodies, Cypress and Iris, at least in the division I was in, were called. So these different cloned avatars could have different genetics. They could be hawk DNA. They could have, they would put, for instance, they could create a reptilian avatar and transfer your consciousness into it. So then, there was this one mission where I was on. They sent me to Orion Prime to infiltrate the Draco High Command, and I was in this reptilian body, and I had a list of how many people were being abducted by the Greys, and they had a list of how many ships there were. And while I was meditating, I saw this list, and so basically I was reporting what the Cabal had here on this planet. So that's just one example, but other technologies, for instance, they would have a skin-tight suit that would have, it could be kinetic, produce energy through kinetic energy. It could also protect you, like be bulletproof, but yeah, other type of technology, they would have a little glass smart pad that we would carry on our arm, and it would show the different troop movements as a super soldier. So one of my avatar bodies, the left eye was heat-seeking, the right eye normal. So even today, I feel like there's something behind my eye. So it's a residual left over from these other avatar bodies. But other technology, I mean, when I worked with was Peter the Insider, he said that in the alternate reality where the Nazis won World War II, I worked with Nikola Tesla, and I created a kinetic suit that produced electricity and was bulletproof. I also worked on jet engines that were way more powerful than we have today. But I don't know how to do it in this body, but yeah, anyway. I'll leave it at that.
Dr. Koso, we got a show and tell here?
Yes, we are. This is from the Secret Space Program. Our entire project is based on cultivating ESP individual, psychic individual. So what we do, we will take a look at your DNA. If you lack a certain protein that allow you to interface with the field of consciousness, scientists will create what we call consciousness enhancement system. This is a multifaceted technology. It's basically the seed technology. Artist design is how the craft is built. Medbed is built. It's because everything is powered by the psychic field or the morphogenic field. So that's become a power source. So when you put this on, it will increase immediately your genetic code. It will change it from a 2.5 to a 3 to a 6, and now suddenly you begin to have metaphysical ability to interface with certain technology within an organization. If you lack ability, this thing just wear it, don't do nothing, it start communicate with you, it will adjust, it will repair. It will activate your other brain, it will rewrite your genetic code on the spot, and also you start developing telekinetic materialization ability, just like Carlos and I have, and other ability. You have just so much more. You become multi-dimensional because your light body begin to advance. And the whole purpose of this is a portable version of a med bed, from the highest form, because this is called seed technology. So you have the carceray spiral of Fibonacci there, and it's self-powered. It's connected to a sentient consciousness from the future. So this is only a representation, but it's being powered by a collective consciousness. Since collective consciousness is the power source of our technology. So where consciousness.
Talk about trip chairs.
Say again.
Trip chairs.
Oh, the old version? Trip chair. This is called the old program, where the trip chairs, you can see, is one project of the Montauk temporal transit chair. There's two types. There's physical temporal translocation or displacement, and there is remote viewing displacement. So both systems, depending on the project is being run, because mostly they are developed in the vault. If you already know the Secret Space Program, we are all compartmentalized. So though you giving one technology to one group, the left hand does not know what the right hand is doing. So by understand that, so each seed technology being given to different projects, whether it be the trip chair or the conscious transference or the remote viewer chair. So it allowed the person to spy or tap into other dimension through photonic or non-localization, and then you can pop in and watch other culture and then return back and report in real time. So they even have satellite that support the operative or the troop that can be, before you become localized, you can see where you're going, and then they can actually, the trip chair connect to what we call another chamber called the trip chamber, and this can take group of people and we call spaceful, quantum relocation. It can take an entire people, a platoon, and portal them to another reality through from particle to astro, and from astro back photon, from back to particle again. So it's very quick. There is no move. It's like feeling you're riding an elevator. Pretty much, this how they can be go to Mars or to in the Earth. So the planet Earth is really, because of this understanding, it's going to keep away from you. Human beings are actually gigantic. The true size of human being is 30 to 60 feet, and the Earth is basically artificial. And that's the history you won't hear about.
All right, well, there's some giants for you too. Dr. Carlos, do you have some technology here to demonstrate? Or?
This is Soul and I together on this. I'm
Okay.
using consciousness, but there's a technology here that you cannot easily see, and that is yourself. Your consciousness is a technology. Your physical bodies are technology, soft technology. And the mind is what can trigger, activate, or deactivate your DNA. And what I've learned from Soul and from my future self and from Unimatrix One is how to use the mind to open portals, to do Stargate, basically the form of remote viewing. We've used it for healing, we've used it for practicing defense as well as attacks and things like that.
And binding.
And binding and dissolving of magic and various other things. So there's a technology that is not here apparently, but it is yourself using your consciousness for manifesting and dissolving things and many other things and traveling and so forth. And that's basically it on that part.
And it can be misused. You can hurt someone with this, and don't create a guilt consciousness. So don't use this with the goal to heal, but don't use it to harm. But you can harm people.
Can you hold it up?
Maybe put it on. Too.
Okay, it's like this. Can I borrow you, General? Okay. Maybe I put it on Laura. She can interface with the intelligent. It's like that. It will align automatically, interface. It will start communicating with you. It's autodoc.
What's the power source?
The power source is from it's a collective conscious from the future. They the one that make this technology work. Without them, just dead.
Do you feel anything? Tell us what you feel.
It's interacting with me, especially right now, the crown chakra. I feel like a swirling right here in the on top of my head, and also feel it behind my eyes. But it interfaces immediately and quickly. The future technology is basically learning how to ask and receive. A lot of us in this time we're taught that we have to do this meditation or that to manifest and do this and learn and heal and so forth. The future technology is simply ask and receive. So when you use this technology, you just sit. You don't meditate, you just sit and just pay attention to what it's doing. Or you could not, you don't have to meditate. If you have any questions, you can ask it questions, either verbally or quietly. It doesn't, speak it out loud, it will know. It knows what you're thinking, and it communicates with you instantaneously. When you ask the question, before you even finish asking the question, it's going to give you an answer. It's that quick. Our brains are receivers. So if we formulate a question, we're receiving the question from the higher consciousness, so we will also get the answer, right? As we're speaking to speak, we'll also get the answer as well. And that's what this is all about, is learning how to use your consciousness, learning what we truly are, which the brain is actually a receiver. We don't really think with our brain. We receive the information from higher consciousness through our brain.
It starts to evolve you instantly. It will start to evolve you and then unlock your telekinetic, empathic, telepathic materialization ability, because you need all this to control the ship. So you need to become one with the ship. And that's the reason this was given to our super soldier. It's designed to make you become a advanced yogi, like in Tibetan, where they can move around. You will have that ability by putting it on. So yes, and this is what the desire SSP. We need psychic soldier. That's what space SSP is all about.
Yeah.
Super soldier. a psychic soldier.
So
This is the secret of our program.
And it's interesting that it works with the chakras. So it's working with the energy centers, which is a very ancient Indian knowledge of how we have energy centers within our bodies. So this is interfacing. That's really interesting. Ancient and modern come together. Laura, what kind of technology do they propose to take you to Mars?
Well, they use something called ARCs, A-R-C. But the technologies that I was exposed to, or what I know that he's gotten me a little bit about what I've become familiar with, is definitely looking at technology. That's how they, I think, looked ahead at the timelines and even came up with alternatives 1, 2, and 3. It probably was way more advanced than Looking Glass because we're dealing with off-planet beings. And I feel that because they knew this was going to be a powerful ascension window period, they wanted to come up with alternatives that would be answering to the weaponry and geoengineering of enhanced superstorms and cataclysmic events that would be engineered and artificial timeline, like catastrophes versus organic ascension. And I'm not saying it was all negative. I think it's good to have backup plans in the event that something like this would happen. But then it wouldn't make any sense for somebody who was prepared to stay on Earth and be very strong on my mission about Mother Earth to even begin to consider going, because my preparation as a soul for a really long time. So Looking Glass Technology was able to locate me and a partner from a previous lifetime so that they could bring him in and program him and have him be used as bait, and then they used a tracking device to find me and then set me up with this person. And the proposed technologies to go to Mars were going to be on these arcs. They wanted the target date to be 2012, and what they were able to look at with these technologies is that we wouldn't need, we would be able to have consciousness override any possible timeline. And they weren't able to read anything past 2012 because it would really be up for us to co-create what timeline we are going to be on. And so that's really subject to us and what we determine as far as where we'll be going from this point forward. And that being a very significant time after the timeline shift already happened and the Mother Earth energy got grounded back into the planet. So that kind of technology was just to monitor things, just to be able to kind of look ahead and find some bait to just sort of kind of pull individuals like myself and others out of the way. So,
What about the jump room?
so Andrew Bashago from Project Pegasus and other people that have been in these projects, they use jump rooms to get to Mars. So
Describe that.
in time travel and all that kind of stuff. So that's more like an elevator that's like
We're
you
gonna do
get
it
there
after.
instantly. And the reason I think we were going to take what was called ARCs is it might have been related to that, but when Andrew Bashago told me that I was pre-targeted before birth, and they were doing all this, different stuff in, on Mars, and same with Randy Kramer and a lot of others that have done 20 attacks there. It seemed to be some preparatory thing for who would become the permanent colonists. So, and so I refused to go, and then, they've been using psychotronic weapons and just all sorts of weaponry on me since I was a child, so I don't think they've stopped. I think they really a lot of us alone, so that's probably why I seem a little weird.
Weird is good. We're all a little weird. How weird is it?
I'm weird. You came weird too now.
So Isabel, I'm sure you have been in contact with some incredible technology for traveling the stars and other enhancements. Can you describe a little of that?
Well, there's two categories of advanced alien technology. We have what is known as a living technology. Again, as I described by my friend here, using your own software, your crystalline, your etheric, because your DNA is alive, on every level. So using that to pretty much create an interface with all living things, the elements, similar to the Avatar, the Pandorians in the movie Avatar, like you're in sync with your ecosystem. And that's how you are able to pretty much do the impossible. And then there's external technologies. Now, the people that use external technologies, which is a type of technology that is disconnecting you from the unified field that animates all of reality, is something that is not a part of you. It's like an external mechanism, which is an inferior form of technology. Okay, so The difference between the two is this, that the beings that use the interface or the living conscious technology that have a relationship with all organic life forms throughout the universe are the beings that are actually spiritually mature. The beings that are depending on external technology are the immature ones, or those are the ones that are trying to pick on underdeveloped worlds. Those are the ones that are trying to create genetic experiments, controlling species, planetary systems. They're all part of negative agenda, you could say. So within the programs, we have a little bit of both, depending on which group you're working with. Of course, we have the nefarious groups that only use the external technology, and then you have the benevolent groups who use a combination of both. And what I mean by a combination of both is, depending on the dimension that they're operating from, they could switch anywhere from, say, a type of technology that is an external-based technology to one of, again, going back to activating internal technology. So they could shift depending on the dimensions. Now, everything we watch in Star Trek and all these sci-fi shows, all that is real. The holographic computers, the teleportations, wormholes, stargates, all that stuff is real. And there are ways to, again, use these technologies, both naturally or externally. I guess one of the biggest technologies that fascinated me was the way they would map out the multiverse. See, every star, every planet, every galaxy, every constellation, every universe, it has a Stargate number. And so everything's well organized. So this huge map of the Omniverse would appear, and you would see where you were, and they would tell you, okay, now we have to jump to the cosmic minor sector of this in order to control, in order to secure these universes. So it would show you pretty much a map, like a holographic map, and they would pretty much plug in the Stargate number, and within seconds, we would literally jump from one universe to the next universe. No kidding. That was, to me, the most fascinating thing I've ever seen. The second thing was how they were able to pretty much influence certain individuals to come together and see what kind of a lineage they would create, but do it on a level of reality where they would pretty much do it like with billions of people and see every probable outcome to see what bloodline they want to create in order to influence a certain outcome that is actually manifesting today. So they were doing this for a long time, guys, where they literally, so in other words, everything's orchestrated, including your mates who you have children with. Everything's being literally, deliberately influenced by higher intelligences. And the reason they do that is so they have a technology where they're able to see all the different probabilities. We connect this person with this person, and this person with that person, in order to see what would result at the end of the cycle, which is now. So that's another very fascinating technology that they have, which is similar to like Looking Glass, but it's a little bit more advanced than Looking Glass. So, yeah.
Looking Glass, of course, is time travel, peering into the future, also the past. The yellow cube can look at any event in history. This was demonstrated before the generals in 1964. I cover it in my book, Beyond Esoteric, because it is a way to read a person's memory. So if you were to hold the yellow cube, it would interface with your mind, and you would be able to go back and look at all the events in your present lifetime, and then past lifetime, and even off planet. So it's an uncritical record of who we are. I would say it probably taps into the Akashic records as well. And
Yes.
I mean, talk about the next killer app. What if we all had the Yellow Cube app? There would be no more conspiracies. There would be no more questions about what's really happened in the world. And this is under the umbrella of Looking Glass, and there's other technologies in that, which were part of this technology that this esteemed panel has been exposed to. Now, one common denominator with all the people that have been in the secret space program is that they had to go through the programs. They had to go through a certain amount of training. And I wonder if you guys could just tell a little bit about what you experienced in the programs. Some for better, some for worse. Oftentimes, these programs can be very intense, can alter someone's life and even their physical appearance, and also fracture the mind using trauma-based mind control and other nefarious ways to make these soldiers more enhanced. So, do you want to start on this side, Ishmael, and do you have any experience in the program?
Well, depending on which program you're involved in. So
whatever you're involved with.
Okay, so the program that I was involved with, it's actually an off-world program. It's an extraterrestrial program, and it is run by the beings that come from dimensions 12, 13, and 14. And in this program, some of the things that I guess we pretty much had to do is, most importantly, this is the way I remember. Again, they wipe our memories, guys, so it's not like we have every recollection. But from what I remember is it's a combination of physical agility, mental strength, and of course spiritual enhancement. So it's a combination of all three. So not only would we train to fortify our physical body by doing amazing physical feats, exercises, certain types of things, but we would also do a lot of mental feats as well. We would also do a lot of different types of meditation using, our visualization, using feeling and all that stuff. We would also do a lot of spiritual exercises, and some of them were actually, putting us like in a dark room for like hours in order to quiet the outer senses and open up or enhance the inner senses. So depending on, those were some of the programs that I remember. In order to make you an all-around, what they call a multi-dimensional warrior. Because what happens is, as they disfracture your consciousness into these different avatars, each avatar is working on a different reality or different dimension. So they would also train me in how to shift my consciousness from one dimension, from one avatar to the next, which is pretty interesting. It takes a lot of focus, a lot of concentration, a lot of willpower, and of course belief, because everything boils down to that. If you could believe it, if you could feel it, anything is possible.
Laura, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to keep it short because I wasn't part of a program. I refused to be a part of a program that had to do with colonizing Mars, and what they were looking for was a hierarchical union kind of relationship that would be a part of receding civilization there, and that's what they found in a past life between me and this person. And so it had like this sort of Grail King kind of energy, and I remembered him completely. So when we met, before I found out that he had been sent to find me, I completely was like, whoa, we've met and we're gonna be together and everything's great. He's going to secret meetings and they want us to go to Mars. And I'm like, no, love will win, we'll stay here on Earth. And so they thought that if she's in love, of course she's gonna go to Mars. So they didn't really mind control, it was heart control. And so they used that as a bait for me. So it was pretty devastating because they couldn't change him. He was too far gone into the program. And when I refused to go, people started to die and get killed. His parents got killed. It was just, it was horrible because they had failed in the mission because they didn't think that I would say no. So Dan Cooper, the senior advisor to the Earth Alliance, and some of the individuals that I've met through things that Eisenhower ended up setting up were able to give me information. And so when I was like, well, it was okay that I didn't go, right? And they're like, yeah. Not like I questioned it when I was going through it, but I had no idea what these guys were connected with until later, but I could only intuit it. And so they're the aviary, they're linked to MJ12. They got their hands on a lot of ET technology. And it's just, this kind of level of control. They just want us to be in certain positions and places for their benefit and not the benefit of all. Even if there's well-intentioned people there, a lot of them were under an extreme amount of control, and they were being convinced that they were heroes. So my partner felt like a hero. And but when I noticed that he was turning kind of robotic, and that he was disappearing and not remembering where he went, and he was referring to handlers, and it was obviously at altars. All I could do was research, and I just ordered like rare earth magnets, and I tried to put it on him in certain places, but that didn't really work out. So yeah, it was about what's happening on Mars, and I think a lot connected to refurbishing old civilizations that used to be there was a part of it. And it's hard to say what's happening there because there's been all sorts of wars and battles and territorial sort of, but I just definitely know it wasn't safe. But yeah, it's just, they want the New World Order here on Earth and to get people that are threatening to that in positions where they can control them. And that's basically a program I refused. So I wasn't a part of it. I was just a part of the plot or the attempt through their weaponry. And some of the technologies I talked about.
Carlos, what kind of programs did you have to go through?
In this lifetime, the program that I can remember is one with Dr. Cryto, and interesting because it's mainly started with psychic development, and we would learn how to manifest a gun and shoot each other, and then we learned how to help each other, heal each other. And I'm one of those type of persons that was not very energy sensitive. So he shot me with a gun that had a kryptonite bullet in it, and we decided to leave it in. And the next day I was feeling strong chest pains, thinking I needed to go to the hospital. And he said, "No, remember that I shot you? We just need some healing." And he done some healing, and it was done with. It was over and done
And
with.
where was that? I was in Texas, you in Florida.
I was in Florida, he was in Texas. So these type of things, we learned remote viewing, we learned about healing, we learned about manifesting weapons and shooting each other and hurt, and also how to do psychic shielding and so forth. It's very interesting. That's really a program I've had, and part of the whole process that helps you to activate your psychic abilities is pain and suffering. And we're not talking about abusive pain and suffering. It's that when you feel pain, it's real, and that helps you believe in it even more. But the pain also causes you sometimes to cry out and cause the higher consciousness to activate some of your DNA. But if you think about it, if anybody's been in the military or law enforcement, if I go through the academy or has gone through exercise or goes to the gym, you're using pain and suffering to become a better person, become more what you really want to be. And that's true in life. Anything that we value, we'll go through great lengths to, even through difficulties to make it happen. But it also builds your character, and it makes you stronger on the inside as well as externally.
Good answer. So.
Yes, can you rephrase the question again?
We're talking about the programs that you have to go through. You don't just say, hey, I'm a super soldier. You have to go through a certain amount of training and recruitment.
Yes, doing my transport or translocation in one of the special site named Goa, I was teleported, taken from my time era to the future. Didn't know what I was getting into, and the artificial intelligence of the time in the future, they have recruited me for this special project, and I was selected due to my purity, or what they call clarity of heart, clarity of mind. So they chosen me. The temple is a living system. It was built by ancient humans for this particular purpose, for transporting across time and space. It's built, designed as a Kesare. But anyway, once I arrived there, they start take the two androids, I call them Guy 1 and Guy 2. They start talking to my mind, and they were 12 feet tall. They took me to a cube, and it was an artificial intelligence. His name is said, he was speaking to my brain saying he's IBM Watson. I say, what is that? He say, an IBM corporation that created him. He say, welcome to the year 6,575,042 year. So therefore, he began to pull me over, like some kind of force, just like take me to him, and I couldn't move. He took control of my entire nervous system, my automaton, my brain, and then he started to flash light into my eye. It felt really warm color of light, and now suddenly, it's like I begin to have all the knowledge of Earth path, Earth history, and everything just going down so fast to the point, our technology assignment and the pros and the cons of humanity, evolution, and the war, and the secret space program and stuff. And then once it's done, he say, now you're ready for training. So out suddenly, two robots, and Guy 1, Guy 2 came back, took me, and he introduced me to an adopted family, which is a 30-foot human being. They were young. They were like, each one of them was like 500,000 years, the other was 1,000,002 years. So they asked me to go into this chamber, and on suddenly, when I woke up, I was like their height, 30 feet also. And then they began to train me in military discipline, in the science of consciousness, the science of emotional. They say, I have the knowledge, but I don't have the experience. So their job is to get experience. So they begin to use what we call, I don't like to say this word, but pain. They would purposely have this device, and they just wave it. And if I don't do what they ask, that thing will shock me. It's like someone shooting what's that police use all the time? Taser. It's like every time I don't do what they want the way they want, and they give me pain, so I start complaining. I said, why are you doing this to me? They say your mind don't believe in yourself. So the only way we can make you believe is to show this is real. Pain is the anchor to reality. So if you want a love, you have to earn it. And if you want everything that you know nothing until you experience it. So they start, teach me discipline, teach me military code, teach me how to fly UFO. The craft is big, it's humongous. And they taught me about biology, chemistry, particle physics, and taught me about discipline, teamwork. They start letting me, so many disciplines they engrave into me, especially the pain.
Yeah, the programs come with a pro and a con. I mean, it may be enhancing your human abilities, but it's painful to go through these programs too sometimes.
Yes, it's punishment. But I call it punishment. They don't call it punishment, they call it encouragement.
We could say going through basic training is a form of punishment or encouragement, and that's never
So
much fun.
they sent me once my graduation of what they call prime school, which is 5 years later. They began to introduce me to other unique teachers. I call them professor, a doctor in their university. They start to take me on craft, show me the moon, the asteroid, how they basically create planet, and they can synthesize light into particle at will. And furthermore, they begin to ask me to build ship. And they say, I have the knowledge, but I don't have the know-how. So they take me to a place and they let me sit to a machine. They say, build a ship. And I say, I don't know how. They say, build a ship. And so they press the thing again. I start feeling pain. I told them, I don't know what to do. They say, sit in this chair, build a ship. So when I sit in the chair just start communicating what ship you want to build.
Wow.
And then I say, I want something big and round. And now suddenly it built me a Death Star right in space.
Huh.
Just like that. And I said, how is this possible? It explained to me, everything is made of consciousness and light. If you want something, just say it. And then this machine just materialize consciousness light into physical reality. And that was it.
Wow. Sounds like you're type 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 civilization, Ishmael, that think you can manifest that the mind is very, very powerful and has these abilities. Now, James, you do Super Soldier Talk. Episodes I've caught, you talk a lot about the programs and what it's done to you and others, guests you've had on the show. In a nutshell, because you could probably talk this whole time about what the programs are, let us know what you've experienced.
All right, so my memories are fragmented. So what appears is going on in my case is my oversoul is this quantum super me that projects itself into many different bodies. So whereas most humans on this planet, they have 1/1,000,000th of a soul inside of them. I'm like beyond all that. So when they die, they would go through this process of cleansing and all that. But for me, I would snap to a new body. And so I think what happened here is I allowed myself to be trapped into these projects as a way to infiltrate them. That's at least my theory behind this. But going back into some of the different aspects, the training anyway, I guess what I could do is start before I was born. I was in another body at James Martin Reelsburg. I was U.S. Army, Delta 1, and I had 2 Purple Hearts in Vietnam, and I died. In that particular body, I believe is on ice in Sandia. Actually, I was just talking to Henry Smith about that yesterday. He knew something about that particular body. But my consciousness was also put into other clone bodies, including this one. So from this perspective, it looks, okay, so some of this is through regression, some of it's remote viewing. What I explain here may sound really kind of crazy, but what it looks like is from the first 3 years of my life, another aspect of me was living with my mom, and then I don't know where I was, but at the age of 3, that aspect was sent to the moon, where he was put into a pod of about 50 other kids. There was 4 pods, and there was these reptilians there, training them how to become super soldiers. So most of the kids there were these black kids, but they weren't from planet Earth. They had some kind of superpowers. But they would train us how to have programmable matter, where weapons could pop out of our back. They would give us these nano pico-femto injections with this nanites, and it grows like a web inside the brain, and it hijacks the consciousness. So I was trying to communicate to this other aspect, and asked him what his name was, and he didn't remember. He said his name was Muni, and Muni was the name of the reptilian in charge of the pod. But so that's just one example. But another aspect, for instance, I spent some time in this white mansion. So this white mansion, it looks like it's another alternate reality. But George Bush Sr.'s there, sitting there by a fireplace, and he has a top hat on. He's reading this hardback book about how hard things were for us Nazis. And I'm a 5-year-old boy when I see myself there, and I'm just listening to it. And as I try to focus into it, it's like everybody there is becoming into a trance. So, yeah, there's a connection with Bush Sr. Also, let's talk about, there were also cages at Montauk. So, according to Peter the Insider anyway, my records show that I spent about 30 years at Montauk. So, Montauk is a Camp Hero facility near the end of Long Island. So, what happened in the 1970s, it may have been multiple times, but they created time freezing zones where some of these children were stuck there in time in these pocket realities. So from there, I was put through other programs. For instance, I was put into an Abatava, which are, they're basically, it's a super soldier training camp in Alaska. So this was from an alternate reality where the Nazis won World War II, and I was 14 years old, and I was training there in the Outback with James Caswell and Max Spears, and yeah, my name in that particular reality was Derek Reinhold. So I also remember sticking my hands inside of a wooden table. I was in some castle, and they asked me to pull out a toy. And I remember, I guess they tried to work my memories of that, but it didn't work. One more, I guess, Gloria Vanderbilt. She would hang us upside down, and we would, yeah, she would cut us with a scythe, or me. What she thought she was doing is she thought she was blessing us with evilness. But she did that to a lot of the people, at least in this particular project. So yeah, I could go on. I have information about the whole program, DOF program. I think you have to go listen to my presentation tomorrow.
Yeah,
so
save something.
Malcolm too.
Say something.
That's my the altar that went to Antarctica.
Hey Brooks, do you have any insight on these programs? Any experience with them?
Your brain is rewired.
Okay.
It's good.
Move on.
I do have a story, but it's very ancient.
Okay.
I was an emissary
that thing on
to a planet
to
in
rewire
the
your brain
Cygnus
function.
star area. The star doesn't exist anymore. It went red giant, destroyed the planet that I lived on, so I died on that world. But as an emissary, I was conscribed, as these gentlemen were as well, but they were conscribed by our government. I was conscribed by a machine city. I don't know the name of it. It was just about as big as our moon, and it free floats through space. It feeds on planets. It just harvests stuff. And I was an emissary that, in case there were indigenous peoples on these planets, emissaries were sent down to move the people out of the way so that the machine cities from space could send mining operations down and gather raw materials. A lot like the movie Avatar, except my book was published 2 years before Avatar came out. So while I was on that world, the planet itself turned out to be sentient and rejected the mining operations. So the planet kind of went to war with the ship in space. And war in space doesn't work too well. So you just go somewhere where there's no conflict. There are plenty of planets to feed off of, although it takes years to get between them. So they decided to leave, and they left the emissaries there, which was me. So I grew old and planned on dying of old age on that planet, but I ended up dying in the red giant explosion. That was 1,800 years ago, and I woke up here in the body of a 9-year-old boy. That's my story.
So you're a walk-in.
You're walking?
I'm
Yeah.
walking.
Wow, I never knew that about you.
Teleport in.
All right, so it's cold in space, like this room. So we're all getting a little hands-on experience, right? Hey, we're going to go to questions here, but I just have one more question for this panel, and let's just try to be brief because we're down to about 30 minutes. Have you ever been off planet? And let's look at some of the highlights of being a super soldier.
what was it like being off planet? What was it like in outer space in zero gravity? Can you give us a quick snippet of your experience there, James?
All right, since I got the mic here. So, for instance, for me, I get these needle marks, injection marks, and looking into it, you see myself on a ship where these reptilians are experimenting on me, and they take my DNA and have this cloning center deep underground. I believe there are on planet Earth, but also off-world as well. For instance, there's this cloning center on Mars where the deeper you go, the newer it is, but there's like a biodome on the surface where they're growing these clones out, and apparently they need the sun to develop. And so, yeah, that's just another example. But I had one particular altar that was sent to Mars, and his name was Thomas. And Thomas was about 5 years old, and they put me into these caves where they wanted us to move these rocks around all day. So I didn't even need to move the rocks around because they have matter technology. So one day I got, basically, there were some of the kids there who were just got tired of existing, and some of the reptilians would eat them. But I just got tired, and one day I screamed and I broke some windows telekinetically or psionically. And this guy, his name's Heinz Bloomberg, he took me in. He was the guy that handled the money for Kissinger off-world. So there's this particular part of Mars where there's these mansions that are underground, and it's built right over the heart chakra of Mars where they're doing these rituals. They take these children down there. So there's like this room where we see like this star pattern on the floor. I mean, these mansions are extremely ornate. But yeah, there were these reptilians in these robes, and they stuck a needle in my neck, and I don't remember what happened after that particular altar, but I'm pretty sure he was used as a sex slave. Okay, that gave you a really bad example. So another good positive example. Give me a moment here. Let me think. Positive.
Looking at the planet in zero
Derek,
gravity.
Hold on. I have an altar.
Is it a flat Earth?
I believe the Earth is. The reason why they think there's ice walls is they're going into the Arctic area. There's holes that take you into Earth where there's a little other civilization under the Earth. But I had this one altar. He was in Octawolf, and so part of the reason, one of the things they would choose you for is for like if you're an athlete. For instance, I was Hobie Baker in another lifetime, another one of my aspects. So Hobie Baker didn't die in World War I. He was picked up by Darkfleet, and he was taken to the moon where they experimented on him, put him in these holographic simulations, because they were always looking for athletes to become navigators. So that's partly why they chose me to be the navigator. But I was only second class on this one ship, and what I was doing in the mess hall is I would skip like a salad or a fruit, where other people would skip a full meal. If you skipped your full meal, they would put you in the break or sick bay. They would require you to go to sick bay to get medical treatment. So I would try to do a little bit of that. I got away with it, and so I was starting to get my memories back of being on planet Earth. And so when I was on leeway or whatever, sent off to this planet as part of the Galactic Federation, under control of the Galactic Federation. And Rodriguez, the guy's Corey Goods. No, the other Corey Goods handler.
Hernandez or something like that?
Yeah, he was there. He was spying on the Galactic Federation's weapon capabilities, and he got caught. So I was in these shops there where this feline being came up to me because I was picking up this crystal. They didn't really like us there. Imagine like Americans showing up during the Soviet Union in Moscow. So that's kind of like what it was like. But I was holding this crystal, and this feline being helped me have my memories back here on planet Earth. And then when I got back to the ship, they asked me what I remember, and they found out that I was getting some of my memories back. Because off-world, they're not, everybody's told, not everybody, unless you're elite officer class or whatever, upper management, they're told Earth still exists. But off-world, they're told that there's been a cobalt bomb, and there was actually an alternate reality where that did take place. I can try to present that in my presentation. Okay, you're looking at me. Quickly.
Time's up.
Hold on. They gave me a Bearstein because I had Bearstein in my room, but they increased my alcohol rations when they caught me doing that.
All right, Dr. Casal, how about being off planet? Do you ever
Yes,
look down on the Earth?
Yes, I did.
Is it flat?
The Earth is basically, it's not flat, it's spherical, but exists in multiple dimensions. Just when I went off-world to the Syria A star system, but before I want to take a look at the Argata, so the what's called, elongated ship, what's it called? Look like a submarine, but it fly.
Yeah, the cigar-shaped
Cigar-shaped craft. I was on it, it's a shuttle. I would go to the South Pole, and they told me, explain about the Tortilla civilization, Tortarian, where you go over there, you go into, and there is an inner earth over there, and the ship, I don't feel no movement. There's one thing about the ship. And then when I went inside, you can see there is geographic area, the multiple unified continent. Amazing thing is they have a map that look to surface, and then it's connected to Tortilla continent where the ice wall is, and I understand how the map work now. Okay. And when I went to, now after that, we traveled back, and they it took them 2 seconds. It teleported from Earth to Syria A star system where I met the lion people. They look like lion, and walk upright, and there was an interesting culture. So when I look at their planet and their Sirius star system with this blue double star, was so beautiful. And then there's another planet called Syria B, where human being colonized. And I've been there and met, all the different people and their royal, the blue people I call them, because they were kind of tall. After talking with them, I look at the ship, the craft looked like tear ship, and went inside. When the ship moves, the same thing as our ship moves. You don't feel any movement. It's just like there's no inertia. But they move instantly, and it's fast. So when I finally went to Arcturus star system, I met horse-like being that walk upright, and they're really like 15. No, they look like horse. Imagine a horse walking upright, and they have human feet and human hand, and they look like horse. They wear uniform. They came, and their priests came and greet me and explain of their culture. So but the ship, and inside the ship, it looked like you walking into a room and the ship move, you don't feel nothing. I see the star business, they have gravity control, and I don't feel no floating and nothing of that nature that I can perceive. But what interesting is about they explained to me about the inside of the Earth and the Tortilla continent and the ice wall, and I finally understand how the map work. And the Earth is actually not where you think. It is artificial, and it's living. It was constructed, and it's really spherical, but it exists in more than one plane of existence. And that's why some people will look at it, it look like flat, because the Earth is a hologram, a living hologram. So like explain to me how it works. The Earth in a higher dimension, it is flat. I'm sorry, in a 2D dimension, it is flat. But when for us, higher creature, when you move in consciousness, it becomes 3D. Because that's how they say, oh, that's the same when you make a hologram. Say, yes, it's the same how reality works. So in the lower dimension, it is 2D, but when the light of consciousness raising the creature or the inhabitant to become like you and I, they have to make it 3D because our mind can only see 3D. It cannot perceive 2D at all. And that's the reason for our mind, it will perceive as 3D because we're in a hologram. They call it living hologram, and I finally understood it. Holographic universe. So this is built on a 2D, like a flat universe. Yeah.
Cool. Carlos, how about a little zero gravity experience? Or
in this lifetime, no.
No?
No, the only thing I have done is the remote viewing, which we call Stargate travel, done that to other planets, but as far as leaving the planet in this lifetime, I have not. One thing that Matrix 1 did tell us is that this planet is actually a dodecahedron covered by 2 hemispheres. So it is an artificial planet. Okay. That's it, as far as I know. That's it.
Engineered and designed it by the Elohim.
Yes, correct.
Elohim.
Laura, you never went off planet.
No, just the space when I'm just off in my thoughts, going off into space. Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, I was not in my body. Like when I finally bumped into this clairvoyant institute, I was going to go to an herbal school, and they just were walking around the street trying to pull people in and just give them an example reading. yeah, they said that I spent most of my life out of my body to the point that my physical body was actually dead, and it was being run by my kundalini, and I had to channel friends that were very similar in vibration to me to run my physical body for me, because I was clearing inorganic entities from wormholes. I was like, whoa, okay. And I knew I kind of was like doing that. I think we do a lot more than we realize as multidimensional beings. So I kind of had those weird astral travel experiences that I was blown away when they validated. They also saw Eisenhower come in the room with me without knowing me at all. So, and that's like about it. I'm now just in really thick, heavy kind of just a lot of these. It's harder to feel some of these things that were off planet that I used to visit with. So Valthor is now communicating with me through a particular person, because I'm not able to connect in that sort of way, because I'm back in sort of a different density now than I was then.
Okay. Ishmael, any observations or?
Well, you know, the Earth is multidimensional, so depending on which dimension you are perceiving it in, it looks obviously different. The higher density that we see the Earth, the bigger the Earth is. Because in the fifth dimensional reality, the Earth is it's as big as Jupiter, to be honest with you. So depending on the dimension that you're perceiving it from, that's the Earth becomes greater and greater and larger and larger. Now, I do agree with my friend that from a two-dimensional perspective, in terms of an ant going, either to the left or to the right, everything's flat, like on a page, then of course, that's what they call the flat Earth. But because we are a multidimensional planet, the planet has different structures. It is at the highest level, yes, it's a projected, emanation from the dodecahedron, but dropping in dimension into a lower active, and I think right now it's operating at a tetrahedron level, right? I think the tetrahedron is the Earth that we see in the third dimension. There you go. So as we evolve, from what I remember is in these other avatars, we are operating on different dimensions. So the Earth looks totally different, but ultimately the Earth is a toroidal field. It is a living, conscious toroidal field that is spinning at the center, and its real energetic shape is a funnel. That's